now available in paperback and ebook. The Man Who Rules the World. John Hayes must bring together men and gods to overcome a threat that seeks to destroy the planet. The Man Who Rules the World. Now available in paperback and e-readers everywhere. I was deeply disappointed to find out that the producers of that 2018 remake of Superfly were two black men. And it deeply disappointed me because it showed me that when it comes down to the black image, black people are not taking it seriously how much we have to make efforts to protect our image. Now, when it comes down to these black people who are working in the entertainment industry these days, I believe that many of them don't really care about the black image, nor do they care about how the black image is presented. But most black people out here, we should care about how the black image is presented, because these images we see in media are not only a reflection of ourselves, they also are a reflection to the world of how we are supposed to be seen and how we are supposed to be perceived. Moreover, they also teach and inspire young black children on how to behave and how to act based on these images, because this media we imbibe is not just something we are watching for entertainment. It is presenting a model to people of how to act, how to behave, and how to think, because this media is not only just entertainment, it is also a form of programming, and if you don't watch it, you will start emulating many of the behaviors in this media. Now, when it comes down to this media, many people are just completely miseducated about the power of image, and lots of black people are miseducated about the power of image and the impact that the power of image has. And that's why we have to make efforts to make sure that we control our image, and we also have to make sure that the right people are controlling the image of black people. Now, some people would say that the whole idea of the right people controlling the image of black people would be wrong, but you have to understand that if the wrong people control the black image, they can shape the way an entire generation sees itself. And right now, we have all the wrong people controlling the black image, because when you have two black men going out here to produce a film like Superfly, it shows me that those black men either are completely ignorant to the power of image as related to black people, or they have incredible malice of forethought. And when it comes down to many people who are in the black entertainment industry, they have extreme malice of forethought as related to black people. And the reason why they have malice of forethought is because they want to make money at the expense of black people, and they want to make money at the expense of black people by degrading the black image. And what I see from the people who are controlling the black image in media is they are forming a cabal to create degrading images of black people. Whether it be Lee Daniels, who promotes self-hating negative images of black people in his films like Precious and Monsters Ball, or Tyler Perry, who goes out of his way to feminize the black man in many of his films, like his Medea films, or films that go out of his way to present a black man as a brute, like he does in many of his Tyler Perry films. Or your Oprah Winfrey, who goes out of her way to emasculate and degrade black men in many of her projects like Queen Sugar. Or your Ava DuVernay, who is a complete turncoat, who has walked away from the black community in order to be a part of the black feminist narrative. Or people like your Channing Dungey, who are executives who work at ABC and go out of their way to greenlight shows like The Mayor, which promote stereotypes about black men, or go out of their way to greenlight shows like Roseanne, the sitcom of a known racist. Many of these black people are not concerned with protecting and preserving the black image, nor are they concerned with presenting a positive image of black people or a balanced and humanized image of black people. And what's sad about having these black people in power is that they don't understand the responsibility they have to the black community, nor do they understand how their influence on the media is impacting the everyday black man and black woman and black child on the street, because them going out here and producing these negative images have an impact on all black people, and it has an impact on the perception of black people all throughout the world. Because instead of people seeing black people as human beings, what we are getting are people promoting old stereotypes about black people. And what's sad is you can't say that it's a white person making these images. What's sad is we have black people making these images and believing it's okay. And when I see black people making images like this, it shows me how deeply spellbound they are and how completely sold out they are in trying to create images that allow them to fit within the black box that's acceptable to white people, instead of doing like guys like Spike Lee and Robert Townsend did back in the 1980s, and Bill Cosby did, which is break out of the box, create your own images, and create pictures of black life that show how human we are, how balanced we are, and how we are trying to live just like everyone else, and how our life and our culture are represented in a positive way on screen. No, we don't have anybody like that trying to make efforts to present those type of images in media anymore. Though instead, we've got a bunch of people who are making every effort to breathe brand new life into old stereotypes from the 1930s, stereotypes we had moved far past from. And when I see someone going out here, a black person, making a Superfly remake, it shows me how sad black people are. Again, if with all those economic resources that those two men had to produce any movie they want, if I had those exact same resources, I would be trying to move the black image forward. I'm the kind of guy who says, instead of us trying to make a movie about a black pimp, I say it's time for you to take this money and make a black fantasy movie, a black science fiction movie, something we have not seen in the marketplace on the regular, or something about a black person who is having a black romantic comedy, something we don't see on the regular all the time. These are the types of films that could bring in new audiences, but most people in America, again, don't want to see those images. And what's sad is we've got a group of black people who control the entertainment industry, and they don't want to see those images. No, those people, all they want to do is continue to breathe brand new life into old stereotypes, continue to promote old racist stereotypes as social norms, and try to socially engineer these ideas as what the standard image is for black people. And this is why I am starting to say that mainstream black Hollywood is just another arm of white supremacy. And this is why it's important for black people to have their own black-owned media, and it's important for black people to control black-owned black media. Because when we take a look at mainstream black media that goes out here and produces racist films like your Superfly, or creates degrading images like they do in their shows like Queen Sugar and Claws and all these other shows, it shows me that we cannot trust mainstream black media anymore, and that mainstream black media is owned and controlled by a media oligarch who has placed feudal lords over the black media that only go out of their way to produce negative images of black people that are pleasing to their oligarchs, but are not trying to produce media that will positively enrich and empower their own black community. And that's why we need black-owned black media, and we need new black-owned and black media like the SJS Direct imprint I'm building, because that's the only way we're going to get balanced and humanized images of black people, and that's the only way we're going to get stories told about black people that give us a clearer and balanced picture of the black community, a richer and more diverse picture of the black community, and a more humanized picture of the black community. Because when it comes down to black-owned black media controlled by black men are going to make efforts to try to control the media in a way that gives you that balanced picture, especially black men who value black people. And that's what I mean by the right black men controlling the media, because when the wrong black men control the media, like your Lee Daniels, like your Tyler Perry, like the producers of this Superfly film, and like people like your Channing Dungey, Oprah Winfrey, and Ava DuVernay, we're not going to get that balanced picture of black people, and we're not going to get a positive portrayal of black people, black men, and black women. And we desperately need those images, because when we have those images in media, they can inspire people to do better, inspire people to achieve, and they can inspire people to be something better than a pimp, than a hood rat, than a baby mama, than a thug. These images, these are designed to make white supremacists feel comfortable, but they're not designed to empower and enrich black people. And when it comes down to black-owned black media, that's what you're going to get from black-owned black media. Images and stories that present you in a balanced light, images and stories that present you in a humanized light, and images and stories that give you a richer picture of the black community, black culture, and the black experience, and images and media that give you a picture of black media from different perspectives, like the perspectives of people who are in other cultures like black sororities, the goth subculture, and especially the images and stories related to black men, black masculinity, and the black male experience. And you'll also get a positive portrayal of heterosexual black men, something that you're never going to get from mainstream media these days, because as it relates to mainstream media, many of these white supremacists don't want you to see positive, balanced, heterosexual black male images, because if you present those images to black men, they'll aspire to be something like a father, a working class black man who's responsible and cares for his family, and a leader, and they'd rather have you be a thug, because they know that thugs and pimps go to jail, and as long as they're at the bottom of the world, they cannot work towards building and elevating their community to a higher level. And as long as the black man is at the bottom of the world, the white supremacist feels comfortable at his place at the top of the world, because he knows that there is no one there to challenge him. And that's why it's important for us to have black-owned black media, because the only way we're going to get those positive, balanced images of black people that inspire people to do better is for us to go out here and support those that media, create that media, and work towards keeping that media maintained in our community. And again, the only way we're going to keep that images and media maintained, like my SJS Direct imprint, is for people to go out and support that media on the regular, because that's the only place where we're going to see positive images of black people in media. Now, when it comes, as it relates to this Superfly remake being made by black people, again, that's just a head scratcher and a head shaker, because it shows me how deep the self-hatred is in the black community, because here you have a young man, again, who has all the resources to go out here and make a black film, and instead of him trying to make a film that will enrich and empower his community, he decides to remake a film that goes out of its way to present the most degrading images of black men. A film that it was made that was not good 40 years ago, and is an idea and a concept from 40 years ago that should have been left 40 years ago. Because if we're going to make black first, we need to move black forward, and if we're going to move forward, we need to start focusing on developing stories that's related to crafting a new narrative for black people, a narrative that, again, is about black first, black empowerment, and presenting the most positive portrayal of ourselves to the world, and tells our story from our perspective. And that's what's, again, really sad about seeing these two producers being black producers, is that they weren't about moving the race forward with their film. They were about moving the race backward. And again, this shows that even if you have the resources to make a film, if you don't have the mindset, what you're going to do is produce something negative. And again, he's producing something negative because he doesn't understand the power of image, or how image has an impact on all those throughout the world. Those of us who understand the power of image understand how an image can shape an entire generation of people, and I'm starting to see that myself when I go out here and publish books like The Temptation of John Haynes and The Man Who Rules the World. People will read that book and see a black man being a CEO, and they start to see that, and they start to say, I can be a CEO, I can be an executive, and I can have power like that, and I can be a leader like that. And that type of story, it has an impact on a black person. And when you see more and more stories like that, it can shape the way you see yourself, the way you see the world, and the way you see your place in the world. And that's why I go out of my way to write positive stories about African Americans and the African American experience, because I understand the power of image, and I understand the power of media, and I understand why it's important for those who create black media to create positive images, because as long as there's white supremacists out there, they take advantage of people like the producers of the Superfly remake. They'll distribute their films, but they distribute their films, again, because it only fits the narrative they want for black people. And the narrative they want to see of black people is black people being at the bottom of the world scavenging for crumbs and not trying to go out here and find a recipe for their own success where they make their own cakes. Those who wind up creating their own narrative and carving their own path, they find the recipe for success, and they use that recipe for success to make their own cake so that they don't have to depend on a white supremacist crumbs. And those who go out here and create their own media with their own money, they can go out here and craft a narrative where they tell a story about themselves that teaches people to believe in themselves and not seek validation and approval from a mainstream black media which goes out of its way to push and promote old stereotypes. If you'd like to try some of my positive SJS Direct publications, like The Temptation of John Haynes, like the ISIS series, like The Man Who Rules the World, and the Spinsterella trilogy, you may do so by clicking the link to Amazon.com in the description box. There you can pick up my books in paperback and e-reader formats like Kindle, and you can also find them at BarnesandNoble.com or Smashwords.com or the iBookstore. And if you want to help me make more videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.